Nobody invented alcohol. Nobody sat down one morning and decided to create it. Nobody ran an experiment. Nobody had a plan. It just happened. And the moment it did, everything about human civilization shifted in a direction no one saw coming. 9,000 years of history, religion, war, celebration, grief, and connection, all trace back to one rotting piece of fruit that someone picked up, smelled, hesitated, and then ate anyway. This is that story. It starts before humans, long before agriculture, long before fire was controlled or language existed in any recognizable form. Our primate ancestors were foragers. They moved through forests and open land eating whatever they could find, and sometimes the fruit they found was not fresh. Overripe fruit falls from trees. It sits in the sun. Wild yeast, invisible and airborne, land on the sugars inside that fruit and begin to eat. As they eat, they produce two things: carbon dioxide and ethanol. This is fermentation. It requires no human involvement, no tools, no knowledge, no intention. It happens on its own, constantly, everywhere in the natural world, which means our ancestors were not the first to discover alcohol. They were the first to notice it. Here's what that moment probably felt like. Not transcendent, not magical, confusing. The fruit tasted strange, sharper, warmer going down. And then something happened inside the body. A loosening, a warmth spreading outward from the chest, a slight distance from the usual weight of survival. The world did not change, but the feeling of being in it did. Nobody planned for that. And whatever ancient brain processed that experience, filed it under something important, something worth finding again. But here's where science draws the real line. Noticing fermented fruit is one thing. Creating alcohol deliberately is something else entirely. The earliest known archaeological evidence of intentionally crafted alcohol comes from Jiahu, a Neolithic village in China, dating back to 7000 BCE. Chemical analysis of pottery residues found there revealed a fermented mixture of rice, honey, and hawthorn fruit or grapes. Someone had figured out the pattern. Certain ingredients left together in a sealed clay vessel produced something specific, something repeatable, something worth making again. Around the same period, roughly 13,000 years ago, traces of a fermented grain-based drink were discovered in a cave near Haifa in what is now Israel. Not wine, not beer as we know it. Something between a gruel and a brew, left in a stone container deep inside a cave. Someone carried that mixture into the dark, specifically to let it ferment. That is not an accident anymore, that is knowledge. And here is what that knowledge changed. Researchers studying the transition from hunter-gatherer societies to the first agricultural settlements found something unexpected. In several ancient sites, the earliest evidence of grain storage appears before the earliest evidence of bread baking, which raises a question that archaeologists have argued over for decades. Did humans begin farming to grow food? Or did they begin farming to ensure a steady supply of grain for fermentation? Some researchers call this the Drunken Monkey hypothesis. Others call it the beer before bread theory. The evidence is not conclusive, but it is serious enough that it appears in peer-reviewed journals and university anthropology courses. The idea that alcohol may have been a primary driver of human agricultural civilization is not a joke. It is a legitimate scientific debate. And then there is the biology. Humans are not passive consumers of alcohol. We are specifically built to process it. The enzyme ADH4, which breaks down ethanol in the liver, mutated in our primate ancestors approximately 10 million years ago, at exactly the point in evolutionary history when our ancestors began spending more time on the ground, near fallen, fermenting fruit. Our bodies did not adapt to alcohol after we started drinking it. Our bodies were already adapting to a world where alcohol existed naturally in our food supply. We were not built despite fermentation. We were shaped alongside it. Think about that for a second. So here is what all of this means. Alcohol was not a human invention. It was a natural process that humans learned to recognize, then repeat, then control, then build entire civilizations around. The first person who drank fermented fruit did not know what they were doing. The first person who stored grain in a clay vessel and waited had figured out something that would outlast every empire, every religion, every border drawn and redrawn across 10,000 years of history. We did not discover alcohol, did we? We just finally understood what the fruit had been doing all along.